Hello everyone, I'm Sagarika Bhatta from PowerShift Nepal. PowerShift Nepal advocates in different environmental issues and climate justice issues. We mainly focus on young girls and women empowerment in this field. Today we have with us some PowerShift Nepal's member, Neeraj Tambrakar, Obita Sahi, Sumana Lamichhane, Palista Tuladar, and Namrata Thapa. We also have other members as participants. Together from PowerShift Nepal team, I'd like to welcome Mitzi and thank you, Mitzi, for being available for today's session. I'd also like to welcome other participants today for being available for a discussion session with Mitzi on impactful climate action online plans. So before Mitzi would take the session forward, I'd like to also talk about today's. Today we'll be basically discussing about impactful climate actions plans, online actions plans, and Mitzi will be talking about youth actions for youth advocate for climate actions Philippines. They have been doing very effective work online, which we have seen. So she'll be basically talking about what they have been doing. She'll be talking about activities and programs they did in past that which were remarkable, how they are planning online campaign in this crisis, and how they are managing with the team online, responsibility, roles, use of app and all. How effective has their plan been going to mass suggestions to other campaigners? How can we move further and advocate in this situation, making distance with solidarity? So we will be talking basically about this topic for about 15 to 20 minutes. Then we'll be opening floor for questions and opinions of all the participants. Also, after opinions and questions session will be around 5 minutes, and after that we'll open floor for 10 minutes for other thoughts and opinions to be kept by everyone present today. That will be discussing more about what could be more better ways to campaign and advocate online if we have to move further in this crisis. So moving on to the session, Mitzi, I'd like to hand over the session to you.
Hello everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. So, yes, I'm Mitzi. I am the convener of Youth Advocates for Climate Action Philippines, or YACAP. We are an alliance of individuals, youth organizations, and student councils that advocate for the immediate global climate action led by the youth. The Philippines is one of the most vulnerable countries to the climate crisis. I think according to the latest global climate index, we are the second most vulnerable to the climate crisis, but it depends on the survey. That our carbon dioxide emissions are only 0.37% of the global carbon dioxide emissions. So that's where the concept of climate justice comes in, that the vulnerable countries, they're also the countries who aren't actually contributing to the climate crisis as much as the countries that are not as vulnerable. And that's why we have to continue our calls for climate justice, even if with this global pandemic. What YACAP has done in the past, before this coronavirus pandemic, is we would organize climate strikes. In September 2019, we organized a human Earth, we made a record-breaking human Earth formation. And in November 2019, we had a lantern parade because lanterns are very integral in the Christmas culture of the Philippines. So we had a lantern parade with lanterns made of recycled materials. Going into this coronavirus pandemic, we have had to put on pause our plans of going on the streets and striking outside because we have to prioritize and unite behind the science and prioritize people's safety. So we're doing it all online now. We're doing it digitally. So what we did is we made a climate justice song and dance, and then we put it on TikTok, Twitter, and Facebook, and people can use the song, and then they can dance to it, and then they can post videos about it. And what we do is we make sure that we use a unified hashtag. So for us, it's hashtag Digital Strike PH. PH means Philippines. So if you were to do it in Nepal, you can make it hashtag Digital Strike Nepal or something, or even in your own language, in your own local language. That would be a very good touch to make sure that the youth really sees the hashtag, and that we can have that hashtag trending, and it's easy for you to see your posts, how many people it's reached. So of course we have to continue with our campaigns online, because even if it's the coronavirus pandemic, the carbon majors and the oil companies, they are not stopping. They are still continuing their environmental degradation and their plunder. They're already talking about how to rebuild the economy after this pandemic, and the oil companies want to make sure that they're there with the rebuilding of the economy. And so we have to make sure that when the economy is being rebuilt, it is based on a more sustainable and renewable energy source. I will be honest that it has been more difficult to organize things online and to manage our team online, because it's also a really difficult time for a lot of people. It is very easy to get burned out, to get really sad, especially since you're stuck inside all day. And for the Philippines, for example, we're not allowed to go outside at all. But what we do is we make sure that we have Zoom sessions or chat sessions where we're just enjoying, relaxing. It's not always work. That way we don't get burned out, and that we don't forget that we're doing this as a collective and as a family, and we cannot, we cannot forgo that idea. We're usually using, for team management, we use Trello and Slack. That's for the international. And then for the local, we just use Facebook and Discord. It depends, I think, really on your country and on the people you're working with, because for some, it's a Facebook group, and Facebook group chat would be enough. For others, for bigger teams, especially if you're working with international contacts, you might need different platforms. So far, our plans have been pretty successful. This Friday, we will be having the Global Climate Strike online. So that's not just the Philippines, it's all over the world. People will be using the hashtag Fight Every Crisis and hashtag Defend the Defenders. And then we'll be putting our Philippine hashtag, the hashtag Digital Strike PH, so that we know how many Filipinos participated. And it's really easy to participate in these strikes, because unlike before where you had to go outside, leave school, this time you just take a picture of yourself with a sign. You can make a sign, just write it on the paper and put Climate Justice Now, and take a picture of yourself and post it, and then you're done. And that's also, I guess, one of the difficulties with online campaigns. You don't know how sustained it will be, since it's so easy to do. At least back then, when we could meet in person, you get to talk to the person, you get to connect with them, you get to help them raise awareness. But now we don't really know if we can do that. So what we're also doing is we're making sure to post infographics, very informative statements, informative material on our pages. That way, even if we can't talk to them in person, they can still read up and get to know more about the climate crisis. Hold on. So how do we move further and advocate in this situation, making distance with solidarity? I think it's so important, especially now, to show international solidarity. I guess it's something that the climate movement has always known. Like, climate activists already know that we need international solidarity. But with this global pandemic, I think even non-climate activists are seeing that, oh, we're all in one planet. We all have to do this together. We're all affected by this. So this is by the coronavirus and the climate crisis. We're all affected by this. And we have to do this together. And we have to learn from each other and talk to each other, see what works. That's why it's so important for sessions like this, because that way we can learn from each other. Because I'm sure I will be learning a lot from you guys as well on how to launch online campaigns. And then I hope you guys can learn from me. What's really important here, I think, is to always know who your audience is. If you know that your audience, for example, the Filipino youth, they're on TikTok a lot, so we're going to go to TikTok. If they're on Facebook, we're going to go to Facebook. If they're on Twitter, we're going to go to Twitter. If they're on Instagram, we're going to go to Instagram. You go where the youth are. You go where the people are. Ideally, we would also go outside where the masses are, where there is no social media, but that's a limited opportunity right now, so we can't really do that. But we will do whatever we can because we still have to continue our calls for climate justice, because after this we can't go back to normal, because normal is already a crisis. It is the climate crisis.
Thank you, Mitzi. Does anyone have any questions or opinions towards what Mitzi expressed? And you can just unmute your mic and ask or discuss or put your views.
Hello, it's me, Namrata. And it's not really a question, but I just want to say that I kind of agree on everything that you said. And I think what we have done up until now is, I think we were kind of all over the place. So I think what we learned is we should go to where people are. So this time, I think we should target the audience that are active on social media. I think Facebook would be better for us. Seemingly, Nepalese people use Facebook more than Twitter or Instagram. So
Thank you, Namrata. Anyone else would like to talk? No one? Okay, for next topic, let's discuss about what could be more better ways to campaign and advocate online if we have to move further in this COVID crisis. Like there has been some sensitive issues going on in this crisis. Why are people talking about climate change? What do you all have to say regarding this issue? Mitzi, what do you?
I guess what I can say is we have to be very careful, of course. We don't want to come off as eco-fascist, or when you say, oh, the earth is healing, carbon dioxide emissions are down, this is a good thing. But that's, if we look at the bigger sense of things, is it really a good thing? There are so many people dying. Isn't the whole point of climate activism preserving life? So this, what's happening now in with the COVID-19 crisis is not good. But I think we have to show people that it's just as important as the COVID-19 crisis, because after this COVID crisis, the climate crisis will still be there. And the climate crisis right now, it hasn't paused. But we have to be very, very careful about how we say it to make sure that as much as possible, we can try to connect the two, because there are connections since the COVID-19 crisis has been proven to have been caused because of environmental problems, because of deforestation, and because of animals being displaced from their homes. It's also been proven that, of course, the medical waste is very connected to the environmental aspect. And of course, unite behind the science for both COVID and climate. We need to really listen to our experts. And for both COVID and the climate, our environmental defenders, our indigenous people, our farmers, our fishers, they're the ones who are more vulnerable to both crises.
Very true words, Mitzi. Does anyone else want to talk about this topic?
Hi, this is Salonika. So, uh, so I was thinking, yeah, thank you, Mitzi. I totally agree with what you say. So, I think another thing that another way that we can frame this is that we can say that perhaps the solution to both, like, preventing further like future pandemics and to stopping the climate crisis is the same. It's basically like stopping deforestation and all. So I guess yeah, that's so that, and if you frame it that way, then yes, that would not make us sound like eco-fascists.
Thank you, Salonika. It's true that we are facing COVID crisis, and also it's not unreal that we are facing climate crisis as well at the same time. Though some of the impact we see is getting a little bit positive due to some transportation, decrease in transportation movement and pollution are getting lower. But we should not also forget that climate crisis will remain as time will go on. It is very, very hard to, stop crisis at the suddenly within a day or 2 days. It's a long process since we have been going on. So we should also not forget that the footstep that we are following in the COVID crisis are somehow helping to solve climate crisis as well. And in future also we can take some steps that we have been taking today to solve the crisis in the future. Anyone else? Polista? Sumana? If not, we can talk about the online actions that we can further take. For example, it's like old method, but we have been trying, Parsif Nepal has been trying we have actually have a petition against oil drilling in Nepal to government of Nepal. So we have been trying to increase our signatures online, but it has been quite hard to increase from 200 participants who has already signed. So are there any ideas that we could increase, how we could increase the petition signatures, or we could reach more mass for the petition? But for now, we cannot do any mass actions. We cannot reach out people directly. So it's online. So for petition, are there any ideas that we could adopt or we could think about going further to increase signatures?
Actually, what we did, because we had a signature campaign as well, and we sort of copied what 350 did with their Just Recovery, but because I think it was very effective. What they did first was they reached out to organizations, because then those organizations have a bigger network, and then you can have the people of the I think it's also just really emailing people and messaging people, because right now they're not. When we tried just posting it, it wasn't effective. We had to go and reach out to people and message people like every day, like, oh, hey, can you sign this? Hey, can you sign this? Hey, have you signed this? I guess if it's like, it's how, if we were able to go outside, we would go to people and ask them to sign. It's like that, but now online, just message them personally, just, hey, maybe you'd like to sign this. That's my suggestion for now. And make it have it's good to have a summary of what's happening in the statement. That way that people all immediately understand what's happening.
Yeah, last day we tried sending message to those who actually already signed the petition to let them know that we are also doing today digital strike at 1 p.m. We did some digital actions today before this discussion. So, but all these times we have not been finding very effective plans for petition signature. So maybe we could adopt, as you have been telling, that 350's footstep. They tried on the campaign. So let's talk about more online actions that we can do, either together or individually from our groups. Are there any actions that we could talk about?
Well, on Friday we have the online strike, where you just have to post a picture of yourself with the sign and use hashtag fight every crisis. I'll put it in the chat. And then hashtag defend the defenders. Then you can make this in your own language, the digital strike Nepal. It would be good to show that, because this isn't just in the Philippines, it's happening all over the world. people of different countries are using this hashtag. Not so much countries in Asia are participating. That's why it would be good if you guys could participate as well. Right now, I think from Asia we only have India, parts of India, Philippines, Japan, and yeah, I think that's it for Asia.
I think you can ask, because we'll be later putting this online. Maybe you can ask people to join Friday's campaign, and maybe we can also join the campaign for Friday.
Yes, okay, so on April 24, just post a picture of yourself with a sign about the climate. Just write down what you want to see, your calls for climate justice, and then post it and use hashtag fight every crisis, hashtag defend the defenders, and hashtag digital strike.
Thank you. Here are some questions. Sachin, you can record or we'll send you the record. How you know you've been heard? What does that mean? Anyone else want to talk about any climate actions that we can do further? Since we know that we'll be in lockdown more days, more weeks to go.
Hi, I'm Palista. So I was also thinking about more ways we can bring people together in this lockdown. I was thinking about making videos, because we don't want to come off too strong right now. We just want to find a right balance between what we can post and not to come off too strong right now. So I was thinking about more informative videos, because the whole point of doing this is to make people aware. But since people are kind of, what do you call it, people are connected, but like they're not connected from everyone right now. So I was thinking about how we can make videos to bring more people together. A joint video, it's just not from one country, but like we can similar to the online strike, we can have lots of people participate and create videos basically.
Thank you, Palista. Mitzi, would you like to talk about this?
That's actually a really good idea, because it involves people, and then it's also, when you post it, it also engages people and makes people want to join as well. That's a really good idea. If someone could set it up, it would be wonderful, and we would be glad to participate in.
Like, for example, her in Nepal today, maybe they'll post that video. They have asked around 30 environmental activists to record a sentence. They have also asked me, so I've sent them a video clip of my sentence, one sentence, and they are going to combine all those 30 people's video, and it will be, paragraph that explains what do they want to say for Earth Day. So that was really nice. Same thing we can do with the international connections we have. Maybe that would be a good idea, Palista. Anyone else?
Hi, my name is Neeraj. I want to ask you about how you make sure you've been heard. Like we say put post and everything, but how we know people are listening to us and following the change that we are trying to achieve. Because from last 10, 15 years, it's going on same way as I read.
Hey, Mitzi, I'd like to tell you that Neeraj has been in this field since 2007, as I know. He's senior to us, and he means that he doesn't see change from then and now. That maybe change. There are some changes as new generations are adopting the learning and knowledge, and they know what is good and what is bad. But the people who do not want to listen and who do not want to know what is real. They have been doing same thing today. Even today, we see that there are some comments going on regarding no oil drilling. Why are you doing this? Why are you, we are taken as anti-development people. So he means how to make people hear what you want to say or them to act.
It is very true that there have been very little changes for the longest time. And if I'm being 100% honest, I don't think through digital campaigns that we can change things. It's really about mass action and being on the street and being there together. That's what brings out true change. But since we can't do that right now, then we just have to continue it that way. When we can go out on the streets already, we are able to do it full force, and we can do it all together. But right now, it's just about making sure that we can sustain the movement that's already there, and make sure that people don't forget about the climate crisis during this time. But yes, it's true that it is a very difficult thing, because I understand from, like, especially from people who have been doing this for so long, that it feels like nothing has changed. But I guess that's the perspective that the youth can bring. We don't really have a choice but to keep going because this is our planet, and we just have to keep going and keep saying it louder, and make sure that more and more people are joining us and listening to us. I think this youth climate strikes last year that started by Greta Thunberg was a very big step in the climate movement, but we have to keep moving forward, because right now it's starting to die down, but we have to keep pushing on and moving forward.
I remember something, because last year I was there in Philippines, right? So I heard so many actions that happened in Philippines that were really inspiring, like Death March to Bataan actions that they have been doing in Bataan for a coal movement. And when I compare Philippines youth and Nepalese youth, I think what we can learn from Philippines youth is that since young age, their involvement is really high in climate actions. And I see in Nepal, though it has been growing in Nepal right now, but not as much as I've seen in Philippines youth. So could you share me how young generation perceive climate actions and climate justice in your community or country?
In the Philippines, actually, there's a big stigma, like people don't like people who rally and go on mobilizations. So we had to be very careful with that so that we can get the youth with us. That's why we made our strikes very fun and not the normal strike where you're shouting. I mean, we're still shouting and we still have the signs, but we also have music and we have colorful banners. That way it's not as intimidating, and it's opening and it's welcoming more. And then when they're there, then we talk to them and we make sure that they understand the climate crisis so that they return the next strike. And we don't do it like in other countries where they have a strike every week, because if we did that in the Philippines, people would get tired really fast and they would stop caring. We have to slowly build up to it until hopefully one day we're powerful enough and we can start striking every week.
Okay, we have only 10 minutes, 9 to 10 minutes left. Maybe we can talk about the safety and security online as well as offline, that we do protest and all about the safety and security. So how do you describe the safety and security in your area regarding climate justice movement, you being as an activist? How do you define? And we'll talk about ours.
I feel like we're going to have similar answers maybe, but it's not the safest to be an environment activist here. I am lucky enough to be a student, and so to an extent, and we are branding the environment activism as very friendly. So to an extent, we're a bit safer, but we have not been exempted to being tagged as terrorists. because there is a civil war happening in the Philippines, and anyone who says anything against the government is branded as a terrorist. And that's a big thing that scares a lot of people, not just us, but also um, non-organizers. Right now, we have a donation drive for a fishing community, and we might not be able to give our donations because recently they arrested people who were giving donations because apparently they were going against the law for helping people because they were outside. So it's something that we have to be very careful about, and we have to get our permits for the strikes. And as much as we hate it, this will be posted. I just remembered. Oh well. We follow it, and we. It's a long process, and we go through it because we want to make sure that everyone is safe. Like if it was up to me, I would be fine with it. But then we have students, like young students, going with us on the strikes, and we want to make sure that they're safe too.
Okay, talking about here in Nepal, it's not that much as Philippines about safety and security, but since last one incident that happened in Nepal, a young activist engineer, he was an engineer, he was killed while he was trying to protect a river mining, illegal mining that was happening in his area. But after that, we have been a little bit scared about safety and security issues. Since we are also advocating on oil drilling in Nepal, which itself might be we might be in risk in future. So it has not been yet that unsafe and unsecure here in Nepal. But we have planned to, take this issue very seriously further, so that none of us gets hurt in future. So together, maybe we can also build how we can be more safe and secure in strikes, even in online, like Zoom has been as called as an insecure app now. So maybe how we can build more online security and offline security. Like one of the participants here, Salonika, she is working with deep green resistance. Is she online? Yeah.
Yes, yes. Yes.
Salonika may talk about safety and security that they are doing it online, and also they are conducting many workshops online. Can you talk about that?
Okay, so it's not completely for for any online actions, but it's more of as in security regarding communications through online means. So yeah, so basically we have a security culture that talks about the basic rules and norms that we should do for in order to like minimize the risks of anything negative happening. So recently we had a digital security and privacy training, and there were some basic 10 basic techniques that we discussed about. So I don't think we had much time to discuss about it, or shall I post the link to the video, or what do you suggest?
You can post the link in chat room. Yeah, we don't have much time now, 3 to 4 minutes left.
Yeah.
And maybe next day, if we all wish, we can again do meeting, not actions, similar actions. So we only have 3 minutes left. Does anyone wants to say anything? Mitzi and everyone else?
I have a question to Mitzi. How do you gather mass? Like, how do you convince a mass to come out and strike? Because we find it really hard because some of them really don't give in and they don't want to listen to us. How do you make them listen, and how do you like convince them to go out and strike and show them that this is important?
Um, that's so true. We also experience that. Uh, what we do is we make sure that we go to them. We go to schools, we talk to them, and on the day itself of the strike, we text them. The night before, we text them, and we remind them that this is what's happening. Sometimes we arrange transportation, but they have to pay for. They have to cut up the money, but then we rent something that they can ride, because sometimes that's a problem since public commute is hard here. It's really making sure that we can be as accessible to them as possible, and we have the strikes. Like the place we have the strikes is usually places that are already near schools. That way they don't have to go that far. And it's really just always telling them, reminding them, explaining to them slowly. Like before we got to the good number of strikes, we had to talk to so many people, and we had to teach and have so many forums before we were able to actually have.
Question that Namrata was asking to you about how can we build larger mass in protest, during protest, while it's very hard to gather mass together for protest, any actions that we do here. It almost takes us 1 month to gather people for a day mass of action, but still we get very less number of people coming to mass actions on particular day.
For us, our preparation is also 1 month or almost 2 months sometimes, just to get people to join. I think it is really just the reality of a lot of countries in the global south, because a lot of people have a lot of other problems that they're thinking about. They're not really thinking about the climate change because they're thinking about what they're gonna eat, where they're gonna live, if the storm's gonna affect their houses. And it's something that we have to connect to the climate change to show them that what they're experiencing, the problems that they have, are all connected to climate change, and that ultimately the fight for climate change is the fight for a better life. So I think that's something that we have to really impress upon people, and to just really just keep going, because it also helps to have a good network. Like we would have not been able to do the strikes that we did if the 350 network did not help us, and their huge network of other environment organizations. It's really heartwarming that they let the youth lead. They just take the lead, but then the youth take the lead and we do a lot of the work, but then they're also with us, and they're also inviting people and helping us out each step of the way. And that's a really good thing to take into account. It would be good to work with more youth groups, because the youth groups have friends and people and that a lot is riding upon their work. But at least with students, they can skip a few classes, and then it's good to work with the youth, I think, because there are a lot of opportunities with the youth to go on climate strikes.
So anyone else wants to talk about or ask anything, discuss further? No? If no, then let's go towards the end of the session today. I think it was really very nice talking with you, Mitzi, and everyone present here today. I think everyone knew something new and learned from you, and also maybe some of them could share something to all of us as well. And thank you very much, Mitzi, for joining us today. And maybe further we could also do many sessions on various topics in future. Thank you so much, Mitzi.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I enjoyed this.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.